Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I am your host. And joining me this week is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how's it going, pal?
Coming at you hot, Jimmy. Ready to go for another Critical Reviews podcast. Let's hammer it out.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing, and Joe is like ready to go. He's like a prize fighter up in here, and I love it so much. If you are joining us for the very first time, just in case, there might be somebody else who's new here. We like to talk about everything in entertainment. We're talking games, we're talking movies, we're talking TV shows, we're talking theme parks, we're talking music, we're talking about whatever we want.
All the things.
Everything. And this week, I kind of want to just stick to two main things. Obviously, there's kind of news here and there about some stuff, but until we get something a little more concrete, something that's worthy of your time and ours to talk about, we're going to stick to these things because we've got some stuff here that I've been so excited about. First off, let's start Cyberpunk 2077. Finally got some more information, kind of a long, like, deep dive and, like, a video explaining some more things about the game, because it's been about a year or so. I know, it's been a long time since we've gotten a lot of good information. They showed this stuff off at E3, but now we finally get to see it, just the regular folks. And we're not going to go through, like minute detail after minute detail, but I do want to talk about a few things about it because I'm stoked. I'm really excited. Every time this game pops up, I'm like, oh my gosh, this in spring, along with Final Fantasy VII Remake and that Avengers game. That's a lot. That's a lot. Man, I wish they'd spread these games out a little bit better, but just doesn't seem to be the case. Anyway, Joe, I know you kind of watched a little bit of it. Any initial impressions on your end for someone who is a first-person enthusiast, but is also still kind of getting a little more into RPGs?
Yeah, well put. I think, you know what? Hold on. This episode brought to you by a nice, ice cold, crisp, refreshing Canada Dry Ginger Ale. I'm just kidding. This is Diet Coke or Coca-Cola Zero Orange Vanilla.
Gross.
But, you know, they were out of the ginger ale because it's so popular, you know? I haven't pulled that one out of the repertoire for
I've missed
probably
it.
months.
I'm still waiting for them to get back to us on that because I saw the ad campaign for it, and it's like some guru nowadays, like some guy who's like stupid.
Let's just face it, I'm way cooler. Well said. I am not much of an RPG person. You really gotta get your claws in to be good with some good content if you're gonna get me to commit to something like that that's solo role playing. That's the one thing that kind of slightly deters me from this game of Hera is that it is only, you know, it's just you. The only way you're going to play with somebody is if you're like talking through, what did you just do? Oh, you did this cool mission. Okay, cool. Yeah. How'd you do this? You know, that sort of thing, which sometimes can be enough, and it might be enough for this game because a lot of the details I'm seeing are, I mean, let's face it, the game seems somewhat endless. It's not like maybe you're working towards a goal, but I don't think it ever has a nail in the coffin ending, does it?
It does, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. But then you can do multiple playthroughs and be different every time and all that jazz kind of thing.
That's true, and you can kind of be like 3 different classes. What was it, like street kid, corporate business type? And what was the other one? I forget.
Last one is Nomad, but those are actually kind of like backstories. They're not necessarily like classes.
Exactly.
They kind of give you different dialogue options and stuff.
Yeah. But so this is one congruent story that's like there's freedom to the game, but you're held to a path.
No, not really, because like if you want, they kind of show at the end of this one, he like fights this boss, and then they beat the boss. And then you get to decide if you get to kill her or not. So, like, if you kill her, then that, like, quest line, you know, her story or her showing back up is not going to happen. But if you don't, she could at any time. Like, that's the crazy thing about this game is that you really get to kind of pick and choose some of the things.
The variables
like
are always at play.
Yeah.
Or in effect, or affecting your gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
That might sound like a slightly dumb statement, like, well, duh. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it captures my interest. Like, there's a lot of unique intricacies to it that seem. It almost seems like it would just like suck me in. Like I start and I just don't stop for like 3 days straight. Like tweaking out on energy drinks and yeah. Um, I don't know. It seems like that kind of game, really. It seems really enthralling. It gives me kind of an Area 51 vibe. It seems like kind of a deep trench to fall into and play your way out of, really.
That's a good way to calling it that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I just yeah, I almost at the same time get a little bit of a Grand Theft Auto vibe from it.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
yeah, it's not online multi, but like maybe that type of story mode is really what it is.
Yeah.
And it kind of appeals to me. I think it's going to be better than that even. I'm sure mechanics and everything are going to be much more fine tuned and more fun. But
yeah, well, I'm interested to hear what you think about this because it has a similar level up mechanic, it sounds like, to something like Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls series, where let's say you use your fists a lot. You use your fists all the time, and if you get kills with it, you get like melee experience, and then that will like level up your like that tree almost of melee. Like, so that way it unlocks the potential for you to do different things with that. But you couldn't do that in like otherwise, like in other RPGs where you level up and it's just like, I'll just give me a new ability I never learned before, and like I could just pick something and my person just knows it. Like this game, it tries to be a little more organic with that, and I kind of like that because it's like if I use katanas a lot, it's going to give me more like in blades, and it's going to be like, hey, like obviously you're more interested in using blades and doing that kind of thing, so you're going to get more and more proficient with them, and then at the end of the game, like you're going to use that sword better than you did at the beginning. Or with guns, like you're going to reload the gun that you've been using the most more efficiently. Like you're going to know how to use that better than you did at the beginning, and like that's going to be like your gun. Like after a while it's going to be like, yeah, it's my baby, I know how to use it, I know every in and out of it because I just like I've been using it for so long, and I think that's so cool. Like you'd be like, this is my handgun, I love this handgun, I've had it for a long time, and now it's just like I just reload it like crazy fast, and I can just like boom 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 boom, like just shooting everybody. I'm like, oh, that's cool to me, man. Like I like that sort of thing. I feel like that kind of gives you like like this this personal, like, I don't know what the way, it's like it's, you're not almost possessive of it, like you're kind of like, this is me, this is my character, and like this is, I've like built them up to be this, which is attractive to me.
Slightly, yeah. They get you invested through that relationship, right?
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
I thought you appreciate that too. I know we talked a little bit beforehand, but kind of like the more aggressive route, because it sounds like you can do a full non-lethal playthrough of this game, which I would imagine would be very difficult in some circumstances. But you and I are kind of similar, but I would think that there are occasionally times where you'd want to just go full Terminator, like, and if you're strong enough or you're tech savvy enough, there's kind of a moment where they walked towards like a sentry gun. It was like, hey, if you're 4 out of 2 for hacking it, so you could just hack it, or you're 8 out of 2 for just ripping it off the mount and then just using the gun yourself. And I enjoy that it's like, hey, if you want to be like a brute bruiser, like you can do it this way, or you can be like the tech smart way and do it that way. It's like, but both are viable options and both seem like equally fun potentially, and I just love that whole thing. But I think just making yourself into like a Terminator would be so sweet, just like you're ripping open doors, picking people up, just like throwing them, just like beating them up, or just like flying towards someone and just clocking them in the face. Like, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of cool. Like I think that'd be nice, like at the end of the game, if you're that strong, right? Like I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, geez, ripping the turret off of its post and just freaking using it on them.
Yeah, that
sounds like my style.
What
would you go for?
I was gonna say,
like, I know there are like 4 skill trees. There's one where it's like the bruiser. The other one is like, the tech savvy, where you're able to hack things really well.
Yes.
Proficient in that. The other one is cool, where it's more. I don't exactly know the details on that one, but there's not a lot out on it right now.
Yeah, which they talked about that one a little bit, because everybody's favorite stat right now is like cool, because like, oh, the cool stat, like, it can be cool. And what they said, it was more like maybe confidence under fire. They're saying like, oh, you might dress like a really cool person, but like your character might be like in an actual gunfight, they might be like, oh my god. So like if you're cool under fire, you might have like better accuracy. And I thought that was interesting. And they talked about either that or using a gun more and more, and it would actually bring your reticle as you did it more and more like down and down, so you become more accurate with like your favorite gun, and you'd be like, oh yeah, this is my gun, I'm really good at this gun. But the cool stat was fun, but the reflex one is probably the one I'm most interested in, because it's got like blades and handguns or like revolvers or something like that. And I was like, that's all I want. Is
Wait,
just
which
like
one? So which one was athleticism?
that's under body, I think.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
one, and they talked about one thing that's cool with that is that you can hide bodies, and they said if you're dragging a body and you're not high in athleticism, it's going to take you a while and it's going to be hard to do, but if you were like really, really strong body, you can like pick them up and just like run with them. Like you could run with a body. So if you knocked out a person or killed a person and wanted to hide it so that way nobody saw it, it wouldn't take you forever to be like drag them down a hallway, because if you're going to be like super high in like your tech proficiency, you might not be like the strongest, like crazy like cyborg person, which I think is cool. I think that's nice. But there again, it's like, do you hack the door or you just rip it open? Like, and I think there's something kind of cool if like at the end of the game, if you're just like this terror that just is killing everybody, just ripping doors open, just flying into places. They're like, I gotta get away from this guy. Like he's unstoppable. Like that is attractive to me, you know, like that kind of concept. The other one that they kind of talked about too is in more of the tech tree stuff, or the Netrunner, is basically everything in this game has a processor or has, you know, something that you can hack. And they kind of show that like there's one time where they get one of the guys to basically take a gun out and shoot himself because his hand, like they hack his hand, and they do that, or they make him pull a pin on a grenade and then he blows himself up next to someone else. And I think it'd be kind of cool eventually to get to a point where you don't, I don't know if you could do this, but like where you don't need guns and you could just walk into a place and you're just hacking things. You're like, you hack the camera, hack the turret, hack the people, and you're basically like a tech god. And you're just kind of walking around and you just kind of look at people and just hack them and just like, yeah, it's not a problem. Or you just hack them to join your team, or, you know, stuff like that. I think the possibilities there are really fascinating to me. And it sounds like they can kind of like hack from a distance, like not only from just like kind of like with your computer, but they've got the nanowire, which you can do that, or you can use that as just like, because it's like down to like almost like an atom, you can use that as a weapon too. So if you want to still be like tech savvy, but also kind of brutal with your melee kills, you can just like, you know, slice people to ribbons with this tech wire. I was like, that's pretty cool too. I was like, it sounds like no matter which kind of path you take, you can still do multiple things with it, which is really cool. Like they, you know, they talk about like, we don't want you to be locked into any one class. We want you to be able to kind of like, you know, say, all right, I picked the nomad to start as like my backstory, but that doesn't mean I have to like stick with like whatever other people who respond well to nomads are. Or maybe I want to be like some sort of kind of corporate agent who's like a cyber ninja, but I also really want to be like super duper buff. Like it sounds like you can kind of pick and choose depending on what you do. And I'm not sure if like Skyrim, you'll be able to like, for say, jump a lot, like what in that game, Joe, if you just kept jumping, like you just, when you walk to, like, you just keep jumping, like that's how you just build up that stat. So it might be, I think hopefully they'll limit it a little, so it's not just like you can just max out every stat and you're just like, I'm the best. Like it's kind of boring. It's more fun to have, I think, like specified kind of like identity to it. But yeah, I don't know, I think the whole cyber ninja route is pretty cool, like corporate hitman. See, that seems kind of like my sort of thing. I don't know. That seems interesting to me. I don't know how you feel if you do that, or if you'd rather be someone who's like a kid who grew up on the streets and you got really ripped and now you're just like taking it to the man. I don't know. Do any of those appeal to you?
Ooh, that one that you just said there sounds appealing. I might go for something more like the ruthless businessman or corporate type, getting the job done in the dirtiest of ways.
Yeah.
Both are appealing to me.
Yeah, which reminds me that under the cool stat, I did see like assassination and then also like sniper scopes and stuff too. So
so I feel like the corporate kind of cool type.
Yeah, see, that's what I think too, or like where the money is. I also just, I know they haven't confirmed this yet, but I just so wish there's like a co-op. Like, I just think it'd be so cool if you're just like, all right, so Joe, on this next quest, you're like the corporate sniper man who's really cool under fire. So you go sit up there. I'm going to go talk to them, but I'm like a crazy cyber ninja with a katana. And if it goes south, you know, I'm going to be like, all right, pull the trigger on this guy. And then I'm just going to start like slow-mo and start slicing people's legs up. Like
that's all cool and all, but it sounds like me as the corporate business savvy type. I should be doing the talking.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I guess that's right. I mean, we take turns. I mean,
I'm kidding.
You're gonna want that bullet drop.
As if we're playing the game already.
I know, that's just the dream of it, but I still think it's such a cool like concept, just in general, and just the kind of the freedom that we get to have with the game, as far as like not being like, I am I'm the warrior class, I tank damage and I do damage and that's all I do. It's like, no, you don't have to necessarily do that. You can be jacked up, but then also be like, I hack a little bit when I get bored. Like I like that freedom.
right there with you. Now, so would you go with a well-balanced loadout? Would you like max out a certain tree first, or would you try and balance it out well and kind of keep them all even up as you progress?
I think basically what the game seems to be like is like depending on just like what you are naturally drawn toward. So that's what
Yeah.
levels up. So it's just like, hey, if you've been using rifles a lot, you're going to get rifle XP, and then you're going to be more proficient with rifles, you know, as opposed to you're not just going to be good with shotguns randomly, which I like how shotguns were put in like the body tree because it makes sense when you think about it, because like a shotgun is very different than a rifle. If you've ever shot one, like you need to know what you're doing really, like, because otherwise that's just going to it's going to do a lot of damage to you. But I don't know, I'd probably go like really hard into the katana thing. It's so interesting to me. Plus, because this game seems to have like body specific damage, like where if you shot them in the leg, like they kind of limp and stuff. That sort of stuff's really interesting, especially if you're going to use a blade, which is very interesting to me, because it's like if I could slow down time and then like slice somebody's leg and then like keep the conversation going, like if it was, you know, in a cut, like they seem not cutscenes, but like the little kind of one-on-ones, you seem like you can pull a gun on someone or you could attack them if you wanted to, like that sort of thing, like is really fascinating. I don't know what the limitations of that are, but I'll probably just go once I get that katana, man. They've got those mantis blades too, where you can like climb on the walls, like jump off, like
So what do you
slice
think
people's heads
about
off.
those? At first, I thought the animation with those in
It's
the
kind of weird.
gameplay video, they were a little weird. Like, okay, how are you actually sticking to the wall? Then finally, you like plunge into them like ice pick style. You know, then the takedown on the people, that's cool.
Yeah, I think they try to show that off because it's more iconic to like the brand, but they haven't shown the katanas off, which I've got to imagine looks super cool. But I liked that sequence because it felt kind of almost Batman-esque, except for the killing. But like he hacked a gun on one of the guys and he jumped on the other one, and then that guy was like, "Oh God, please don't!" And then he's just like took his head right off, and I was like, "Ooh, that's pretty cool." I don't know. I think it's cool, but kind of weird because they like are in your arms and they kind of pop out of your arms. I don't know. It feels
You're
kind of like
talking about the picks.
yeah, it feels very like an Overwatch character. Like they'd just be running around with those the whole time. You just like
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, would you lean heavy towards the body mod thing, and at the end of it, you're like almost entirely machine?
I don't know. I think that's another thing they're talking about too.
Yeah.
I guess it would depend. There are some things they talk about, like for if you want to go like Cyber Ninja, like you could get like a double jump and stuff put into you. Like if you like basically get rid of your legs and put new legs on. I don't know. I don't know if like you lose your humanity by the end of it. It's an interesting question. I don't know. Would you go like full? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I would do. I think I would probably have a healthy balance, but would you go like full full like robot? You're like, I'm gonna mod myself till I can't even recognize myself in the mirror anymore.
My name was Joe. I am now Exterminator.
good name. Yeah, that's right.
I really twisted around. I've gone from Joe Lever, formerly Joe Lever. I am now Exterminator. I exterminate everything.
That's who I want on my team. That's my co-op partner, Exterminator. I can see you
That's
going.
how I'll talk to you over the comms too. I'll be like, I report for duty, Jimmy. We kill everything.
I'd be like,
On your 6, Jimmy.
be like,
Behind you.
like, oh my God, Johnny 5.
Oh
yeah.
by one, and then you're just like leave.
One thing I think you'd appreciate, because I know that for you it'd probably come down more to the stats of being like, oh, if I could boost my stats way up because I'm like all robot now, then I'm probably gonna do that. But they talked about trying to, at least with the gear and then also like how you look, which you don't really see yourself very often, but to kind of really toe the line, or kind of walk that fine line, I should say, of making things that look cool but also stats wise are cool. Because a lot of times, and you've probably experienced this just a little bit, Joe, I know pretty much everybody who's like played an RPG has, but it's like, oh, this thing looks really cool, but this new thing is just better stats wise, but it looks kind of like crap. So you kind of get this like
I make the sacrifice. Looking good's feeling good is fighting good. If I look good, I'm good.
okay, if you look good, you're good. Okay, but apparently you don't have to make that decision in this game if you do get it.
Really?
That's what they say.
They were thinking of me, huh?
Yeah, they're thinking of everybody. They're trying to make everybody happy.
Wow.
Also, they've got motorcycles, so I figured you'd like that.
Did you just say motorcycles?
No, motorcycles.
With an N?
Motorcycle.
Motorcycles?
Motorcycles.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Coincidentally, I was watching another little video, and it was one. I don't know if it was the first one they came out with or what, but either way, yeah, hopping on that motorcycle and kind of free roaming it.
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
They said there's even a chance. I was watching somebody else's video where they said that they might be like there might actually be shifting. Like you might be able to turn on to manual, which I thought you'd really appreciate.
Say what? That's a lot of detail, bro.
I feel like,
that's
of course,
cool.
That's what gets you. It's like I can tell you all this stuff. Yeah. You're like, wait a sec, the manual shifting. I'm back.
Is there a clutch? Do they let you like you have to operate the clutch and shift?
Well,
like,
they did have a guy going 0 miles per hour, and he was in second gear, probably holding the clutch. So. Just like, all right, day one purchase. I want to talk about a few things.
Can I pre-order now?
I think
Deluxe
so, yeah.
Edition?
Yeah, Deluxe Edition, let's do it. One thing I thought you'd also like, too, because you're a Call of Duty guy, about talking about the gun customization, the difference between doing, like, you can actually change the paint jobs on all of them. Seems pretty standard nowadays, kind of the color, some of the stuff on there. But also modifications, you know, your silencers, your scopes, your stuff like that. But what I'm interested in is it sounds like they come in a few different varieties. It's a power, tech, and other one. I don't remember the last like gun thing. But I thought that was interesting because like I feel like with a game like this, you can do like, oh, you got your shotguns, your rifles, your sniper rifles, your handguns, all that stuff. But you can also add in, because it's future, like some insane weapons, like laser weapons or, you know, chemical weapons, because it seems like there's fire, electric, and chemical damage in this game besides just like regular damage. So I don't know if like, do we get like flamethrowers? Like, or like acid? Like, I will lose it if I can have acid. I'll be like, I'm gonna corrode everybody. I'm gonna be like slow time. Like,
just from the surface level exposure we've had thus far, and that's what I'm assuming is that it is somewhat surface level at this point. I'm sure we're gonna get exposure to a lot of little cool treats and nuances like that. So. I think that's inevitable, especially when you enter into something like fire damage and whatnot, and chemical and whatnot. So. Apparently I like the term whatnot, but it just makes sense. So I think there's going to be a lot of little treats and goodies in here for us. I really do. Yeah, I don't know. I like the vibe a lot. It's weird how I get that GTA vibe.
Oh, for sure. No, totally.
But it just, yeah, it does seem a lot more. First of all, it's much more RPG. Like it's more. I think there's going to be more investment in it, kind of how you were describing.
Yeah.
Like just based on your personal nature and your decision making, like what you prefer to use the most because you're confident in it. That sort of thing is going to develop that character and the skills. That's something that's been missing from a lot of games. That's pretty advanced stuff, really.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, well, and that to this like degree too. After especially the success of Witcher, kind of CD Projekt just going it. They could have just made Witcher 4, but they're like, nope, do something completely different, and not even third person, just first person. By the way, I looked it up. So we've got power weapons, which is kind of regular. Tech weapons, which are the ones that could be crazy. Smart guns, those are the ones with the homing bullets. Think smart pistol from good old Titanfall.
Yes.
So I was wondering about that because some of the first footage we saw of it, I remember like jumping into the live stream later on, and they were shooting like down and to the right from the boss, and I was like, you're not even hitting him. How are they doing? Like, what is this like broken? I was like, no, the bullets, they're like micro missiles that shoot and they kind of like whip around. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Sounds expensive if you ask me.
It sounds so expensive. But they went to Harvard. These are the smartest guns. But one thing I also enjoyed too is like if you analyze.
Mine went to Brown, asshole.
Well, mine. Okay, mine's better. It double majored and went to Oxford. So one thing I like too is like when you're analyzing your enemies, it'll tell you like what they're weak against. You know, which I think is cool too, because it's like, okay.
But you have to get that upgrade from the doc.
You got to get that upgrade from the doc. And you also have to be like, all right, so they're weak to chemical. I don't have any chemical stuff. Or like on this boss, they said like, hey, she's not really weak. She's got high resistance to everything, but she does have a big freaking weak spot on her back. So if you get around there and you can get her, which I love. And she showed this off a little bit because her name is Sasquatch. She's part of the gang called the Animals, and showing off kind of her kind of super speed, which is basically slow motion if you have that ability yourself, but it looks like super speed to everyone around you. So the idea of you being a melee combatant with that ability to kind of like Dragon Ball Z or kind of like teleport around, I think is really fun, and I love that idea. So just like in the eyes of my enemies to be like, this guy's, he pulled out his katana and then he disappeared, and like one of the guys like lost his head, you know, and it's like, like that's cool. I'm like, yes, that's cool. And they
lost
talk
his
about
head, but the head hadn't fallen off yet.
exactly. It's that's how fast I am. And they also
One of
talk
those
about
slow
like
slides.
with like the tech running stuff is that you can get like the little spider bot, which we've seen before, which can like attack and do other stuff for you. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So you kind of have like a little companion. I was like, that's like, there's so many different things you can do. Like, I think that's where it's going to get addicting. Cause like you said, Joe, you kind of get like thrown into this and kind of in this world, and then you like love it. And then you get through that main game or whatever. And then you might be like, hey, I want to try this again. Different backstory. I'm going to focus on different weapons altogether, and just like see the details in different ways, like I think is really attractive. And like how as a video game developer, how tough that must be, because they talked about this in the deep dive video, that the little kind of what do they call it? Like their rationale behind this was like, all right, so there's a little brain exercise today. We're gonna say, all right, we're gonna get the player here and they have to go into this room and kill this person, but they can't bring weapons into the room because there's a checkpoint. So they're like, all right, so which ways could we do this? So we want to make it so the player could like maybe go out and around on a window, come in that way, and then like, you know, shoot them. Or like B, they could hack the little security thing, bring the guns in, shoot them. Or like another one's just like bust the door down or bust a wall down and then go in and kill them, or like try to get in there and just be strong enough like with your hands and just like snap their neck or whatever. But they just talked about all these different ways as just like the one kind of problem solving, you know, exercise for just trying to kill a person.
They've been able to accommodate or account for that and give you that much variability or options.
Yeah, that's what they say anyway, with the variety of it. So that's where it gets nuts, where you're like, crazy. Oh, and the fact that they said like, oh, even that boss fight at the end of this, like you could have snuck past her. You didn't have to necessarily fight her. Like if you found a way to get around her, or like found it maybe to talk her out of it, you know, or something like that, where it's like you could talk your way out of maybe all of these fights if you just kind of specialize in that conversational ability. That right there to me makes this game sound like just bonkers, where it's just like, what, like all these options. And then not only the dialogue options, but then like you said at the beginning, Joe, it's like, okay, if your backstory is nomad, they might give you a nomad, you know, kind of quest, like not even quest line, but just like dialogue option. And that way you could talk to someone, be like, hey, from one nomad style to the other, another street kid to another corporate person to another, be like, hey, like we both been in the corporate life, I know how it works, you know how it works, you know, stuff like that, which I think is really like appealing to me. I'm like, that sounds really cool. Yeah. The question is, what are the hovering cars going to be like? Flying cars if at the end of the game, if you actually get a flying car, which I thought you'd appreciate this too, Joe. They actually brought in
manual.
Yes. They brought in real city planners to kind of discuss and like show how the game would actually, like the city would function if it were real, even with like flying cars built into it, like the flow of traffic and buildings and all of that, because apparently there are no loading screens in this game, and you could walk from one edge of it to the other without it ever doing that. I was like, what? Like,
that's crazy.
Like, that is bonkers.
Coming from the construction world, having sat in meetings where all I'm doing is planning a building and how it'll function, those meetings must have been absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I bet they weren't fun.
No, thanks. I mean, it's a cool thought and all, to like, how would the city really function? But
yeah,
man, to actually be one of the people at that table and have to go through all those details. I hope there's some fun people, and I hope it's a relaxed atmosphere, because otherwise that would suck.
It must be. You have to think it is. Also, I don't think you can go into like every building in the game, so maybe it wasn't completely that, but it was more so just like how like the flow of traffic and how people would, you know, congregate in which areas and all that. Just crazy stuff. Really crazy stuff. It's just like, oh my gosh. Let's see what else. They talked a little bit about the gangs a little bit. I don't know. There's just so much to discuss. Like I said, we don't have to go by every little detail, but I'm just really excited about this, and the more I see of it, the more I'm like, okay, excellent. And obviously there's kind of that through line with Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves, who's kind of like in your head all the time. And I love that sort of thing because it sounds like you actually can kind of decide to either help him in his quest or like not, you know. But who's not gonna help Keanu Reeves? I mean, like if Keanu Reeves is like, "Hey, we're gonna burn a city down together," it's like, dude, I'll get the matches, you know. Like you're just like,
Like I would be like, I already beat you to it, loser. Um, unless he comes up to me and says, "Somebody just killed my dog. I need help."
he's in your
That
head,
ain't
man.
happen.
He's they'll make a joke about it. Yeah, I wonder if you can John Wick it in this game. I bet you could. Yeah, just go full handguns, like
Dude.
slow motion, just like.
I mean, I think for some reason, like in my mind, that's what a lot of it's gonna be. Am I right?
If you want it to be, but then again, you could sneak
Yeah.
around and hack everything and crawl through vents, and you
I
could.
mean, to a certain degree, I'll do that if it's like pretty straightforward. But if
Let's face it, Joe. You're
yeah, I
grabbing the
want
biggest
people to
gun.
talk about me when it's over. Like I'm
Yeah,
gonna shoot one guy in the kneecap and say, "Tell the story," and keep going. You know, like
I hope there's something because they did talk about this, and I don't. They showed like experience, but then they also showed cred, and I think it's with the various gangs and different things like that. But I hope there is a moment too where they're like, hey, if you spare this guy, it might give you some street cred to be like, all right, or if you kill this guy, it might give you some street cred. So you're like, you know, kind of playing the gangs against each other, or you're kind of playing for a
yeah,
certain side. I think that was interesting too. I don't know if they'll have a morality system necessarily, but I don't really care. I don't really need one. I'm like, yeah, I don't. The thing is too, like we're just a character, and like you and I think about just all the killing. I don't know, like this character. I guess you can make him into whatever you want, because I basically want to be just like this, like cyber mercenary who's just like taking all these like high end contracts. Like that's the dream for me. But somebody else might just be like, nah, man, I just want to be like some computer tech savvy individual who's not really interested in killing anybody. Like that's so
Whoa.
fascinating. Also, relationships too, which they haven't even got into too much, but it sounds like there could be like you can have relationships with people, not only like companions or quest givers, but like other people in the world. I don't know. Like that's
That's
like another
cool. Yeah,
layer.
and you
Like
can interact with the public, right?
I think a little bit, but not everybody. Like there's some just NPCs who just are walking
Yeah,
around. You know.
some more so, but others maybe a little bit, maybe kind of GTA style. Like, oh, hey, watch where you're walking.
Yeah. You have to wait till the end of the
Now,
game to kill all of them, though, Joe.
damn it. What would you say if I said I was going to play this game as a female character?
I would say go for it. And also, apparently, they took away the male and female like titles for them, so it's supposed to be non-binary. So I think I was reading somewhere that said like, oh, you can put the female's voice on the guy or the guy's voice on the female, like so you can really tweak all that because they are like you can make them robots. So I mean, like you can kind of play with that. But I thought that was interesting.
Sure.
And also. I wonder what the differences, like the major differences, would really be, or if there aren't any at all, and if it's just like, yeah, when you go to the motorcycle, you see yourself as a woman, you know, or not, or somewhere in
Yeah.
between.
And not to downplay anything here, but like you're talking about, you can bolster your athletic ability or whatever, your brute force, which allows you to be able to high bodies and stuff. And if your skill level is high in that, you can like literally throw them on the shoulder and run down a hallway with them. Or one way you can kind of slowly drag them to the side. Um, Now you tell me I'm a female character. I've got a high level. I can throw them over my shoulder and run down the hallway with them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think so. And if I hope that like they would take that into account, so at the end of the game, even with the guy too, because like Sasquatch
Just
was
think
just
of how funny it would look, though, right? Like you just take down this big, giant, brooding guy. You throw him over your shoulder and
she's
run down the
strong.
hallway.
Well, I
No,
don't know
and
if you're
that's
gonna
not a
like
big.
look like the certain character, like the one they beat, where like do you if you put a lot of an athleticism or you get stronger, will your character actually look like? Will you just get
I
swole and you should
wonder.
just like?
Or, well, will your physical appearance change based on your attribute levels? That's an interesting question, but I kind of like, for some reason, like there's some style and stuff to the female characters in this game.
Yeah, oh for sure, way more than the
It kind of
dudes.
seems interesting. The dudes for some reason seem kind of cliche.
Yeah,
I hate to say that, but so yeah, I think it'd be kind of fun. I overall the style of this game is very cool. It brings it's got the futuristic tone like it should, based on the title. The design is very sharp and intriguing. I just and they did it in a non-off-putting way, in a non-cliche way. I mean, it's straightforward to a point, but there's nothing too. Um, it just all melds well.
Yeah.
From what I've seen thus far,
Yeah.
it's not jarring by any means. I think it's well done, and just the style of it in general, the setting, the aura, however you want to say it, um, it's got the right vibe for the type of game it is. Each setting that I've seen shown off in the gameplay and whatnot, the buildings, the interiors, the city streets, even, excuse me, it really is somewhat exceptional. I
Yeah.
think it really is sharp.
Yeah.
Cool vibes. Cool vibes.
One other thing I think you'd appreciate too, Joe, is after Witcher 3, it sounds like they took with the team who was doing a lot of the side quests, and they kind of were like, all right, you're the open world team now. So we're going to make it so you guys, all you do is you make fun little activities and fun little quests for them to get kind of lost in. Because with an RPG, one of those things too is to be like, all right, here's my main story quest. But on the way to that main story quest, there's like 3 things that popped up, and you're like, I gotta do this.
2 game sessions to get to the story
to get back to it, right? And they talked about like trying to contextualize all of these little things. So, if you had like a boring little side quest and maybe another RPG where they're like, hey, go fetch this and bring it back here, they might actually. It sounds like they're trying to make it like the person who gives you that quest, there might be meaning behind what they're asking you to go and get, so it's not just like a boring little mission where it's just like, oh, I went literally and picked up a thing. It's like, no, maybe you went there, it was a family heirloom, and you had to kill some guys when you got there, or something like that, to make it a lot of fun, so that way you literally do get sucked into this world, which is like the whole point of like a game like this, the escapism of it. It's like you gotta like it's real. It's not just like someone just standing there just like waiting for you, and you walk up to them, they're like, here's the quest, go do it, and then you come back and they're still standing there just waiting for you, and you're just like, oh, you did the quest, good job, and you're like, okay. Yeah, which I think is interesting. My question too, also on top of that, when you finish these, like, will you get experience from just like them being like, you get experience now, because this game is all about like, hey, I shot a gun a lot and now I'm more experienced with that gun because I had that experience. It's not like they're gonna be like, all right, you get rifle experience because you did a good job. You're like, how did that? So I'm interested to see how questing experience works on top of that, along with perks that you can add on, which you get to choose, and then also like these the cybernetic mods, which you talked about, kind of changing your appearance, because they did one where they replaced like their palm, like their right palm, and then it also it, like decreased like gun recoil or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's so crazy to think that like you could go and they would just be like, all right, so you don't want this anymore, and they just put that on there, and you're like, oh, guess this is my my hand now. Like, that is crazy to me. It's like, oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, so there was like a mod where you could like integrate with your weapons better and gives you better control and whatnot. That was those are cool things where you wonder who was the guy that had to come up with these cool creative ideas. Like, in the future, what could you have? There's a fun job, man.
Oh, for sure.
Man.
Well, yeah, and it's pulling. Remember, I think we talked about this before, but it's actually pulling from the old pen and paper game, which is Cyberpunk 2020, which is out a long time ago, like Dungeons and Dragons. So a lot of that inspiration, and the guy who made that game is working closely with CD Projekt Red on this, and it's cool that the game is getting released in 2020. So it's like, yeah, that game back in the day probably wasn't like the most, like, it didn't know all the futuristic-y stuff, because now we're like the modern age and it's not like everybody's flying cars and all that, but jumping ahead another 57 years or whatever it is, still a fascinating concept, and it's cool to have that guy be part of the team, and probably he has a lot of ideas. It's like, oh, cool, you could do this or that, and yeah, I feel like the possibilities are endless, and it's probably refreshing for that team to be like, all right, we're pulling you away from medieval fantasy with magic and wraiths and werewolves and stuff, and they're like, and it's tech. It's a bunch of tech stuff and all this like future stuff. Like, it's probably nice for them to not have to be like, all right, so how do we make this griffin look like a real griffin? They're like, no, screw it. We'll just make people that have got like robot faces now. It's like, yeah, good for you guys. Take a break. Take a break from The Witcher. It'll be there. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about this right now. It's just like, I'm just excited to know more. Excited to get my hands on it. April 16th, I think, is the date that it comes out, which is a little ways away, but that's nice to know that it's actually going to come out, because for a while we are like, I don't know the next time we're going to get this. So information sparse, Joe.
So now, to confirm what you've said, it's not officially ruled out. There may be a co-op in this, right?
They have discussed that it is something they've brought up. They've made no promises. I think they even said, like, don't expect it at launch. But I think a lot of people were like, hey, it'd be really fun if I could play this game with my friend. And I think the trick is, I don't think there'd be the limitations that we foresee, but it's like, would you join my game? And then like if you killed an NPC, like would that be on me? Would they be like, oh man, like that was your boy, your bodyguard, you know, or whatever? Like they killed him, so that's on you. I don't know how that would really
That's
change
the
up the
thing. I
game.
think it might be a little chaotic if they
Yeah.
added that in. Um, Chaotic for them. Like,
Yes.
how what are the repercussions of me joining you and getting involved with this and that? Um, yeah, because like, can I have dialogue with the people in your storyline because I joined your game, and
Yeah.
will my choices affect you poorly? Potentially, right? So maybe they will allow it. Maybe it's not as difficult as I'm thinking, but either way, so this game already has a lot of value, and already generates a lot of interest from somebody like me who's very pro co-op multiplayer in any game I purchase. So if they add that in, like, yeah, sure, I'm there. Like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Um, but
I I could see
I'm
him.
sure that's the same for a lot of people who aren't like through and through RPG types. You add that multiplayer aspect, and I think it adds a little pizzazz and interest there for a lot of people. But I don't speak for the masses, I guess. But
Yeah, no, I'm with you there too. Plus, I feel like it also adds to like the longevity of like a first playthrough if you could play with somebody else. I think the trick would be like
yeah,
you just kind of like slim it down. And it's just like, all right, like I said, it's kind of like you're there and you're watching like these kind of moments where like we're talking to NPCs, and because they're so interactive, where it's like you can pull a gun on an NPC, or they might do something where they try to grab your hand, and if you're fast enough, you can like pull your hand away. Like I don't think they'd want to rob you of those moments, but if you could like watch the other guy's goons and be like, hey man, I don't mean to freak you out, but my ocular upgrade or implant is better than yours, and these guys, their heart rates are starting to elevate, and I'm starting to worry that they're gonna draw on us soon, so like you better wrap
that's
this
cool.
conversation up. Like that would be sweet to be like, I'd be like, okay, I don't see that, so thank you for telling me. Get your gun out. Like we're gonna start talking with our bullets now. Like I just think there'd be
That's
so many more
really
moments,
cool.
or like I said, the sniper rifle moment from before. I always have this dream of doing it like there's somebody way in the back who I'm just like, they'll be like, hey, you came alone, and I'd be like, yeah, I didn't really come alone, and then like two people fall down, and they're just like, oh my god, what happened? I'd be like, no, don't you move, because my friend who's way back over there has been watching you for a long time, and we are gonna discuss how these credits are gonna shake out. You know, stuff like that. Yeah, that sounds cool to me.
I
Just
love
the possibilities. That's what good entertainment does. Is it makes you think of the beautiful possibilities. So I'm excited. For me though, it's gonna be a katana and a revolver, and I'm gonna be sliding around and messing people up. Joe, do you think a little bit more on like if you had to pick like a gun and a style? Would you just go like just blow them all up?
it. I'd want some sort of. I feel like some sort of marksman rifle,
Oh sure.
like maybe a short stock marksman rifle that I can, with an ACOG type sight on it, that I can do some close range with a little bit of limited mobility, but then also handle some farther range type jobs, shooting through windows and whatnot.
Yeah.
I like that thought. I don't know how many choices you get, like how many gear slot type
I don't
things.
know
And I
either.
mean, are we talking like I can have a marksman rifle on my backpack, and then I have a side holster with a pistol?
I'm gonna guess at least that, plus maybe like a melee of some sort, like your hands or something, or a
Because
weapon.
in all honesty, I'd really like to put a lot of. I'd probably put a lot of investment into a really nicely modded out smart pistol or whatever they call it with
Sure.
the smart ammunition, and then I'd want some sort of a submachine gun. I think that's a better choice than a marksman because I mean, yeah, maybe there's a few times in a game where I want a certain mission, I want something with some range, but if that's the case, I'll prepare for it. But my primary loadout, like a really nice sidearm with the smart ammo, and then a submachine gun that's pretty much all purpose, decent stock on it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
yeah.
no Superman moments where you're like flying around punching people really hard and like teleporting and just like
Um,
that.
yeah, I mean there would be for sure. I'm not sure to what extent or what exactly I'd be running. I'd like maybe I haven't done enough research, but yeah, I think it would be cool to be able to do the whole like slow time or what or like what's it called? kind of like the Sasquatch or super speed thing.
Yeah, whatever that is, kind of like a reflex. Like they call it like enhanced
Yeah,
reflexes or something, where it's like the world is still moving normally, but you're just moving way faster. And to you, it looks like slow time, but like for everybody else, it just looks like you're a blur. People are like, "Whoa, my god! Like, how did he get there?" It's like,
that would be really cool. Stuff like that. I don't necessarily think I'm gonna go for the whole brute guy, like freaking just busting through the door and ripping shit apart. I think I'm gonna go for a little bit more finesse than that.
yeah, I'm still
Just because I
hoping.
think there's something more enjoyable about it. Yeah, once in a while it's great. Yeah, I busted in here. I just killed everything. Look at everything. It's on fire. Great, but at the same time, I'd like to do something a little finesse and really feel slick when I'm done doing it.
Sure. Well, I guess that's where the hacking comes in. I just want to think that, like, if
Yeah.
we have the punching where they showed someone, like, get punched in the throat and, like, punch him down or, like, ripping through doors, I hope that at the end of the game, they're like, all right, if you want, you can just go up to a person, just, like, grab and just rip their head off. Just, like, wires and stuff start fraying out of them or just, like, rip an arm off. Just, like, get really crazy with, like, the
Yeah.
dismemberment. Like, the sadistic side of you is like, what is that like? Or can I punch someone in the knee and they're like, oh my gosh, like, and it's just like, wow, like that. That'd be really cool. I want to do that. Or a little like Kempo, like, kind of Jason Bourne, where you can hit a guy like a bunch of times, like a flurry. There's like, but it's a game with guns, so you probably shouldn't be running up to everybody. It's a tricky world, man. But if you can hack everybody's guns, then that's
Then
cool.
run up to everybody.
And if you've got a katana, you don't run out of bullets with a sword. That's all I'm trying to say, guys. It's just like you get cool stuff like that. Yeah, either way, I'm excited about it, and it sounds like you might be a little bit too, Joe. We'll see if we can
I
get you
am.
into
What
it.
kind of hypometer are we putting on it, Jimmy?
That's my question to you.
All right. Well, I'll put like in all honesty, I think I'm gonna put it at an 8. I mean, that's pretty steamy,
That's
but my only reservation is I really like to know if they're serious about the co-op. If they're serious about the co-op, I think I'd jump at it.
yeah,
If they're not, I think it's gonna be a what else do I really have that I'm gonna be investing a lot of time in. Um,
a couple weeks of the Avengers, I hope anyway.
Yeah, I just think I'm gonna need some real concrete evidence of when the game comes out to buy it,
Yeah,
or they're gonna have to introduce co-op. Those are kind of the two factors for me. So, um, but I can't deny that it looks absolutely awesome, like the style and
yeah,
everything, and I just want to be able to share the experience with a buddy as I'm playing through it. I think that really adds something to it and kind of repays that money tenfold
yeah.
in my eyes.
I agree.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Really exudes style and sexiness. It's cool. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Well, if you're at Nate, that puts me at a 9.5, baby. I'm so stoked. Plus, I love CD Projekt Red. Like, I love Witcher, and like they don't do wrong. They kind of remind me of like how Capcom has been with Monster Hunter recently, where they just kind of give, and I love
Yeah.
that so much. So I feel like this game, the base game will be insane, but I think just like they'll add and add to it, and then eventually they'll probably throw in like a co-op or something. But until that point, I'm still excited. Just the idea of kind of like a narrative that you get to kind of choose and manipulate, and then also during your conversations, like pulling a gun on someone and kind of putting it under their chin, and then like they pull guns, and your companion draws guns, and it's just like, all right, do you want to keep talking? Or are you going to shoot this guy? Like, what's going to happen? And I think that makes for such an interesting and compelling like experience, to use that buzzword, but just like games usually are so linear in how you kind of approach things, or they're kind of bilinear, where it's
Yeah.
like you're the good guy or the bad guy. Now it's like you have a lot of different options here, and those repercussions, I think that's so much fun too. I think it's fun to have an effect on the world. So I'm so excited. Plus, I still haven't seen that katana, but I just gotta imagine. I love katanas, baby. Like future katanas. Like, oh man, if I'm just slicing people through like a lightsaber, oh my goodness, I can't even. I can't wait, man. I just can't. I might even play through this multiple times. Just like the tech god thing is also interesting, where you're just like, I'm hacking
Like,
everything. Just hacking it
well,
all.
so that's the question I have. It seems like it's just I didn't see any actual concrete information or anything, but the vibe I get from this game based on what they've shown thus far really kind of makes me think that it's like an endless storyline. Like we're talking like you're gonna play it for weeks on end, and it may take you a month to get through the entire storyline.
I would guess anywhere, like I'm saying probably 70 to 100 hours for first playthrough. Usually games like this are like, that's like Red Dead, like that game was just so long. It was just like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you get
So
caught up
okay,
doing stuff.
ultimately, I guess what I'm saying is, if I'm gonna buy the game, I hope it's to that extent.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh,
hoping it's
it will
Red
for sure.
Dead or better.
Witcher.
Red
I
Dead
mean,
or
you played a
better.
little bit of Witcher. Like you didn't play even that much, but
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
game, but
sure.
more.
Witcher
You
was
know.
pretty decent, but I think it could even be more.
Oh, it's gonna be. Yeah, I think so. Plus the systems in this game alone, I feel like are just they're just crazy. It's just like there's so many different things you can do. Man, I think that's the thing is the calculus too. Is like with Witcher you could only do so many things, but this is like all right. Apparently, like not everybody's the same Geralt of Rivia. So like this person might be able to double jump up onto that platform. Somebody be able to just crush. Go through this door. Somebody's gonna hack that turret. So many different ways to approach stuff. It's really attractive. Plus, again, if there's co-op, then like you could kind of each specialize in a thing. Like one of you is the crazy teleporting Superman Terminator, but the other one is just hacking everything the whole time. Like I just that would be so cool. You'd be like an unstoppable team. Yeah,
Heck yeah.
yeah, and the hacking thing I think is so cool just because everything in this game has got computers. So like hacking in most games is like, oh, hack the turret, hack the door, maybe hack a robot. But now it's like, hey, this one guy he's working against this boxing machine, but you just hack that so the boxing machine hits the guy way too hard, and you're like, oh, I hacked that, and the guy didn't see it coming because he thought he was just
That's
practicing against a robot,
hilarious.
like stuff like that. Where you're like, yeah, options, fun times.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears here, Joe. Oh my gosh, I did not realize we were going to talk about that long, but we did. Let's talk briefly about the Monster Hunter Iceborne beta. We're going to talk a lot about this game next week, I'm sure. But Joe and I actually hopped into it today, and it comes with 4 quests. The first one is just to fight the Great Jagras, just to kind of try out the new weapons.
Which we did like 20 times. It was so
many
cool.
times. I shouldn't say new weapons, but like the new, like the clutch claw and stuff, the ability to kind of grapple to a monster and attack it.
Sure.
But then also you
new
get to,
versions of weapons that are made from the monsters in this realm.
and the new like cool costumes to see all that out. But the 3 kind of main quests, you get to fight the Bonbaro, the Tigrix, and the Valkana. I believe that's the name, Valkania,
Yeah.
Valkana. So basically, big moose type thing, dragon thing, ice dragon thing.
Favorite one thus far, Jimmy, just based on looks alone, looks and style.
I guess. I don't know. There's something about that Bonbaro fight, man. I really like it.
Dude,
It's so cool.
for sure.
It's
and
so
it's
cool.
like, you think it's like a recycled Baroth with giant moose antlers put on it. Not really at all.
Yeah, it's like a weird amalgamation, and the fact that it like it'll make like a big snow boulder to like roll over you with, or like it'll take a tree down and chuck that at you. I don't know. It's
Or
just a
throw
cool
the
monster.
tree in its antlers. We saw the teaser for that in one of the trailers, but the trees across the antlers after it takes down a group of them. And then it just uses it as a bulldozer across the landscape. That is awesome, dude.
It's really
love
cool, and it gives you like the coolest armor too. And its music, I think, so far of the ones I've heard, is like one of my new favorite themes. There's just like this kind of big, crazy orchestral score to it. Where you're just like, whoa, this is a fight. And fighting it, I think it has a lot of easy tells, so you know where it's coming from. But I use the heavy bow gun, which I never use, but I was having so much fun using that on this guy because you just kind of see it coming, and you're just like, all right, cool. And
Believe it or not, I enjoyed the bow on it. The bow that they give you for a possible loadout choice in the beta. I gotta look at what it is before it comes out so I can make it, but I really liked it. There's something about it that differentiates it from like I've got a Devil Joe bow. It just seems better. I enjoy it. I'm getting better with the bow, and I'm finding some fun in it, even though it's not melee.
Yeah.
But let's face it, it keeps it fresh to change up here and there. Go to a ranged weapon, back to a melee or something up close and personal, or fly around in the sky or do something more acrobatical like the Kinsec Glaive. I think that's what makes this game great, man. Oh.
Yeah, well, that, and we didn't even talk about the biggest thing, which is like the new region of Hoarfrost Reach, which just is literally a breath of fresh air, in the game. It's like cold air, but just like going out, and it's like just snow everywhere. But it is different, and just the big, tall, like coniferous trees, like that. Just that alone, and like seeing the new like smaller animals. There's a moment when we're fighting the Bonbaro where there's these like these other kind of tusked, almost like small woolly mammoth types, and there's like 3 or 4 of them that were just charging it, and they were like knocking into it and kind of knocking it over, and they're kind of helping us for a second. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then out of nowhere, freaking Gerardados 2.0 or Lavasioth 2.0, this is Beatados, which is this freaking like land shark in the snow, comes out and they start fighting, just because that's one of the coolest things of Monster Hunter, to see like not only one monster but two just start slamming into each other and rip each other
caught
apart.
in the avalanche with us down into some cavern.
Exactly, and it's just like all this stuff's happening, you're like shooting down, and one of the best things about any like a bow or a bow gun is like you see the stalactites or see little things above it, or like a flash pod or a flash fly, and you just like you shoot it from a distance and you're like, yeah, you feel Hawkeye-esque in those moments. But
yeah,
I think the Bombaro was really cool. Tigrex was decent, kind of more of like a standard, almost like Nergigante style, where it's like an elementalist dragon that's just going to kind of jump and claw at you and throw ice and things from the ground, not from itself.
I actually think it was probably the toughest hunt.
Really? I'd say Volcano was the worst.
No, I think Volcano was like, she's somewhat predictable and easy to work around, especially if you're using a Kinsect glaive. It's just that she's powerful, so she takes time.
I guess.
I honestly thought that what was it called again?
Tigrex? Tigrex? Yeah.
Yeah, that was, because I could never use like a heavy weapon on it. Like I was using the charge blade, and I could get to it now and again, but it was so like quickly turning and moving here and moving there.
Yeah.
I could never really concentrate on it for anything significant.
I guess I would say it's kind of like a cross between like an Odogaron and Nergigante. It's like fast moving dragon that doesn't have any elemental powers. It's kind of jumping around, and it seems very aggressive. I don't know why it's there either. Like in the ice region, I'm sure there's a really good reason why it's there. But I was like, oh, that one's fine. It seems a little more standard to me, and I like that they threw it in here just to be like, all right, here's kind of a harder fight for you besides the Bombaro. But I feel like the thing with that one and the Valkana is they have these kind of cool like new things you have to deal with, like the whole tree and the rock thing, or with Valkanas like can like freeze you or make ice walls and all that stuff, and you're just like, wow, that thing, and it's like stabbing you with its tail. It's just like it feels very different than the other Elder Dragons, but there's still plenty of similarities too. So also,
for sure.
That one's only a 15-minute fight. I'm pretty sure they're trying to make everybody buy the game just for that fight, because like, oh, looks like you didn't kill it in the 15 minutes, so I guess that means you have to buy the full game. Like they even say it in there, and they're like, pre-order, buy it, please, and we're all gonna do it. It's just like, I wonder if they not made it impossible, but made it so hard to do. Like you need to go in with 4 hunters and have like the full 15 minutes to just be like working this thing down. Like you need to get working. But yeah, I'm really excited. I had a lot of fun with it, and I was having fun trying out things I'd never really tried out before, and just kind of seeing the new animations for the, not only like getting your new meals, which are like stews out there like in the Hoarfrost Reach, but using the Clutch Claw to like grapple to these monsters, and then using that in combos like with the hammer, doing like your big smash, and then quickly hitting left trigger to kind of zip towards something, and then hitting Y, which allows you to kind of spin like, you know, head over heels, you know, as it were, and just like slam into monsters like that. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I have to still learn out all the intricacies of latching to a monster and like shooting like a bunch of your slinger ammo into them, because apparently you can kind of direct them towards walls or into other hazards. And man, all that seems so cool, and just so many nice little like quality of life improvements. And even today, Joe and I were both saved by our palicos, who like brought us up from like fainting, and they used their little like Vigor Wasp revive ability that's new, and just brought us back to life. It was like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. I was like, thanks, palico. Yeah, okay. I'm just excited. Obviously, I'm there day one, and we were already kind of jumping into it. And I'm kind of glad that Valkana kind of messed us up, because I liked having something there where you're like, okay, yep, there's something a little tough, like Behemoth. Like, I just have to come back at it and have full time. And yeah, Joe, do you have any other thoughts about it before we kind of get into it next week?
Dude, you need to look at a roster of the creatures that are coming out with.
I want to be surprised. I want to be surprised.
I mean, we've already kind of seen it.
No,
crazy.
Don't you talk about it. I'm taking my headphones off. I can't hear you, baby.
You can bet I'm going to hunt that thing to extinction.
Just let me know when you're done.
Oh.
Let me, I can't even.
Well, so the thing I think is cool, and I don't have to go through all the details here, but they're coming out with a lot of hybrids of existing monsters.
I don't want to know them. I just want to be surprised.
Subspecies, I guess you'd call it.
Don't do another Kieran thing where you're like, one of these is like a freaking electric unicorn. I was like, what? No, I want to go in knowing like next to nothing besides these monsters I knew about, and I know about the bat one, the Bat Wolf. That one's cool to me. I forget its
Yeah, that
name.
one's real cool.
That's
But
like a
there
fan
are
favorite, which I like a lot. That's like a cool Paolumu. Like that one sucks. I never fight Paolumu. But for anyone who
dude,
doesn't know Paolumu, it's like a skink in a bat, but it also blows its like neck up so it can float and fly. It's just
the
it's weird.
monsters in this expansion are probably, what's my favorite monster from the current one? I like Teostra, Lunastra a lot.
Oda Garen is your favorite, I thought.
Oda Garen is probably my standout. Well, just by looking at this roster, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised or pleased with my investment.
That's good. That's good. Well, because we hunt these things so many times, so it's kind of nice to see something new. And also, I'm excited to try and fight these things that have new abilities, like we fought today, because we kind of know all the
Yeah.
abilities of the other ones. But like being frozen solid, like I almost got today, I was like, whoa, that's something new I have to worry about. I guess I didn't realize that. Like, yeah, or basically being Indiana Jones running away from Bon Bar with this big freaking rock ball, just like that. That's just cool, man. I just like new mechanics like that. It's just nice. It's not just like
There
recycled completely.
there is one item here in the roster and they don't have an illustration for it at all yet, which I expected. Um, it's something that you'll be very happy about, Jimmy. I think it's some subspecies of one of your favorites. You'll really like. There are some in here that are just impressive. These monsters really, in this expansion, may put the original OGs to shame. There's I want to say so much. So Tigrex, by the way, I don't think it's actually supposed to be in that ice area. I think it's meant for the Rotten Vale. They just wanted you to be able to fight it.
Oh, okay.
Or
Rotten
maybe it's in both areas, but they show most of the illustrations in the Rotten Vale.
Weird. I would think it'd be more of like Elder Recess because it gives me that vibe of just like classic dragon. But I'm so
Yeah,
freaking
you would
tired
think
of
so.
hunting at the Elder Recess. I think the Elder Recess is cool, everybody. Don't get me wrong. I just don't fight enough in the Wildspire Waste. I feel like that's such a cool one. I like Rotten Vale. Coral Highlands is fine. My problem with Rotten Vale is that I just hate getting like the effluvial buildup, and it's just like I don't know. I just hate buildups and stuff. Like it's like, oh, you just lost half your health because you were down here. It's like, ugh. But
Yeah, unless you've killed as many Valhazoks as are in existence and it doesn't even hurt you anymore. Like you can drink it for breakfast or put it in your cereal.
exactly, it
Um,
makes you stronger.
that's how I am. So
Yeah, makes
that's
sense.
one thing. I don't know. The Rotten Vale is not too bad as far as monster inhabitants.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
you always have those few monsters. Um, Devil Joe, Basil, that kind of cross across all of the areas or
Yeah.
zones. I love that in the Coral Highlands you can find Oda Garen who comes up from the Elder Recess, or that comes up from the Rotten Vale. I think that's neat.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're
Um,
right. Good call.
I just hope so. We have the new zone, right?
Yeah.
We obviously know that we're getting quite a few creatures, probably five, six, maybe.
I thought you said 8 before. Is it 6? Not that it really
What?
matters to
What
me.
did I say about eight?
I thought you said 8 originally, but I could be way off on that. And that's fine. I don't need it to be 8. It's just like,
Well, all I'm saying is it looks like we're gonna get. Let me just count something up real quick. One,
do you want to count while I talk?
two, go ahead.
Okay.
Nope.
One other thing
Three,
too
four,
about this game is that we have to also kind of speculate on is the fact that like they're keeping this game
six.
going until Monster Hunter World 2, which I'm like positive they've got to be working on because it's their best-selling game ever. But that means that they will probably try to bring in other monsters from other games like we've seen before, like we've already seen with Witcher and we've seen from Final Fantasy. So that means I wouldn't be surprised to see other games or other franchises kind of not only get like the Assassin's Creed hood and stuff in there, but also other new monsters for us to fight from other popular gaming franchises, which would be pretty amazing. And they'll probably just put it in for free after the expansion. Like I wouldn't be surprised if them just add it to the base game too, like just like, oh, Yep. Well, guess what? You get to fight. If you have Xbox, you're gonna fight a Brumok or something like, which would be kind of weird because like Brumoks also have big guns on them and stuff too. Maybe it'd be like a Berserker or something. Ooh, a Berserker would be a cool fight. Joe, remember Berserkers? They're the female locusts. They're like the big, strong, like they just run through people and just like
Oh,
try to
sure.
crush them. That'd be cool to fight, right? That'd be so scary though. Um, I could see a Berserker. I'm calling it right now, Berserker. If you see that pop up eventually, I was right. Joe, do we have a final count?
Yeah, well, let me give you a little rundown here just so people have some of the details. It's really interesting. I think this is a well thought out expansion, well worth the investment of $40. I mean, no brainer. Um, they'll bring with it a new location. So the new locale is the Hoarfrost Reach. We covered new home base, which is one of the things I'm very excited
Oh
about. There's a new
yeah.
chef.
Yes,
There's a new
that's
chef, which is cool. It's called Celiana. And I think if you buy the digital deluxe version or the deluxe version period, there's something that you can do with customization or upgrades to your room, which in Celiana, your room is actually more of a cabin.
okay. Yeah.
And what's really cool is you can furnish your entire room and design the furniture, place the furniture, change the colors, the wood types,
That's cool.
everything. It's really cool. They were showing off some of the details of what you can do with that, which, yeah, is it that big of a deal? No, not really. But you can use your cabin or your room um, similar to the gathering hub. So no longer is there that weird gathering hub deal. It's like,
Ah,
hey, come to my room, check this out,
that's cool.
And you can go direct to mission and stuff from there. It's really neat. So new monsters that really won't ruin anything for you, Jimmy. You kind of already know about, or I won't describe them. Tigrex, which we fought. Kortos, which I don't even know which one that is. Popo, I don't know. Anteca, Barioth, Barioth, B
Yeah,
A
no,
R
it's
I.
different.
So not Barioth. And they do not resemble each other whatsoever.
Oh, by the way,
Then,
Kortos, I think is one of the smaller ones, by the way.
okay.
Like
Okay,
the
that
actual
wouldn't
in the
surprise me.
world, I think we
Oh,
saw them today.
okay. So Bambaro, obviously the big moose goat one.
Yeah, that guy's great. New favorite.
Be, Be, Beatidus, which I saw a still image of that one, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw it there, and it got the turf war and all that with Bambaro, but it actually has teeth. Like Gerardos and Lava Sloth never like show off anything crazy as far as the mouth. Not that
Yeah.
I remember, but this one you can actually see like big shark-like teeth, which is pretty cool.
Ooh, cool necklace or
Um,
something.
yeah. So Narga Kuga,
Oh, is that the bat one? The bat wolf?
yes, I believe so.
That thing is so
Um,
cool. That's like my Otogaron. Like that thing looks so badass. Like
it really
terrifying. Like
does.
from
It's
the
very
nightmares.
similar.
Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Which I believe is in the ancient forest. Valkana, which obviously we get in the beta. Shrieking Legiana, or yeah, Legiana is how I say it. Anywho, so there's an example of the subspecies or the
Oh,
offshoots that they're doing, similar to like the pink Rathian or the Azure Rathalos.
very good.
Um, so there's a lot more than that. There's a lot of subspecies stuff. A few of them will really blow your mind.
Cool.
And
I
the
love
new
that.
monsters that they're mentioning here, they don't. That doesn't cover all of them because I know that there's a couple more that they're bringing out that weren't mentioned there, that are new. Glavenus, I'll mention. Um, and then
This
there's another one that they're bringing back, Brachydios. Brachydios.
sure. I believe you.
There's a
This
subspecies,
the
Angina.
subspecies thing reminds me a lot of like what Pokemon is doing with like the Alolan forms, where it's like, oh, we took Vulpix and made it ice. So it's like if you took Barria or Baroth and like made it ice, I'd be okay with it.
I
I'd be like,
think that's kind of what they're doing, just a little bit.
yeah,
Maybe they're gonna act slightly different, but I feel like they recycled them just a little bit to get something.
Which is
additional.
fine. Like, it's just newer things for us to hunt, and like I always take the Azure Rathalos way more as a serious threat than just like a regular Rathalos, even though they're, you know, technically the same. It's just that the color is off and they're stronger. Like, I'm cool with
Um,
that.
so some other things to keep in mind that are cool. Obviously, they got the clutch claw thing, so you can like actually
Yeah.
grapple to a monster, do some damage to it, and create weak spots that you can then focus and do more damage to, especially if you're going for a specific part. Um, the other things to keep in mind are each of the 14 new weapon types will get new combos and new element offerings,
I just
which
thought
is
of.
kind of interesting.
I just put something together, Joe, in my head. Today I was using that new hammer, and it looked like the skull of something, and it was doing lightning damage. I think that was a great Gyros head that they just put on a freaking like on like a piece of
A
steel.
handle.
Like
That's
so that
cool.
like I was like, so that's got to be right? Like, damn, that's cool. Anyway, keep going.
All I know, I think that really covers it. I mean, the new home base is a cool
Yeah.
aspect. New room, which is more like a house, like I said, that you can really customize and make your own, which is neat. Exterior and interior especially. And then there are new combos for weapons. Um, the what was the other thing? The slinger deal, clutch
The clutch
deal,
claw.
clutch claw.
Yeah.
Um,
And new
the
combos with the clutch
roster
claw.
and the roster of animals is or creatures is pretty staggering. Actually, it's pretty impressive and really cool. Um, there's Volcana, which is the new Elder Dragon Ice, right?
Yeah,
Well, they're also coming out with the other Elder Dragon that's water, which we haven't seen a water one before,
that's true.
which is gonna be, dude. The look of it is insane. It looks
Okay.
awesome,
Why do I always
awesome.
picture like hydro, like water dragons are always just like made of water? But I know it's not going to be because like the
It's
animals in this
not.
game are like if you made a real animal like that, like what would it look like? What would it function like?
I
And I
almost
appreciate
want to
that.
say, think of Aquaman, but don't think of the big Leviathan thing. Think of their ships and stuff.
Oh, cool.
It'll kind of give you that
Does it
kind of
have
vibe.
eyes though? Like it's not the stupid freaking
Yes.
Xenojiva eyes. Okay, good. Uh,
No, no, it has eyes. It's just very striking.
like although I always want like a new weapon and everybody wants a new weapon, think about it like this, everybody. All right, so you make a new monster, right? That new monster has not only new armor set for like maybe an alpha and potentially a beta, but then a new weapon for every one of like the 14 weapons or whatever it is. So like just think of how hard that must be that they're like, all right, we're introducing 5 or 6 new monsters, and you're like, oh god, that's a lot of weapons. Like just like new
Yeah, I
looking
mean, yes,
weapons.
same
Like
same weapons, but a new design and aesthetic, right? Which is that you think it's simple, but that demands a lot of creative expertise and design work.
that, and it's rounded out the game because like fire was not good against anything in the base game because almost everything like was spitting out fire, but now it's like all these things are weak to fire. So I'm like, I've got an Anjanath sword now, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like cutting things down, and I'm like, that's pretty fun. I'm like,
That's true. It's like
that's
finally
nice.
I get to use some of my fire weapons. It was very rare to use something
Oh,
with
super!
fire in
Like
the other
Baroth
one.
was one of the only ones that like fire was like pretty sufficient against, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
and
just,
only half the time at that. But
yeah, exactly. I just,
thunder as well. I don't have a lot of thunder weapons.
well, I Thunder was actually pretty good on a lot of them, but they weren't as cool. Like I remember the Thunder hammer that I had. I was like, I'm not a huge fan of it, and I don't know if that hammer I was using
Same
today
here.
was electric or was paralysis. If it's great Gyros, it looked like it was putting that off. So maybe it was a paralysis hammer and it wasn't a Thunder hammer. That makes a lot more sense. But either way, I was like, oh, this is such just like I like it when there's context to the weapon because if like I have like a thunder hammer and it doesn't spark with lightning, it's just like a big yellow thing with a spike on the top of it, I'm like, it's fine. But if I have one that's got like the head of something or like it's made with the
Yeah,
fangs of something, you're like, okay, now you're like you've become that monster. Like if you put on the whole great Gyros hood and new gear that they have for it and have that weapon, it's like, great, I'm basically a great Gyros now. Like that's so cool. Like it's
yeah.
so cool. Also, we didn't even talk about mounting like little monsters and riding them around, which I guess is a thing now. We didn't really do it, but I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's
Oh,
an
they have
option.
those little Wolverine type skunk
Yeah,
thingies.
that
Those are
like will
awesome.
attack
And
you and
then
like you have to
if they
rip them
attack you,
off.
they
Like
like crawl up over you.
It's
It's
like
like, yeah, come home with me,
it's
cute
like
little
you're the
bastard.
Baroth and they're the Gerardos, and they're like wrapping all
Yeah,
around you, and you're like, friggin' don't.
similar animation to that, like you said, but I want to take one home. They're so cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into more of that this weekend, along with I think the Ghost Recon beta. I think is also up this weekend. I
Oh
think
my god,
it's a
my
lot.
head hurts already.
Yeah, we can jump back and forth between the two. Very different games. Hypeometer though,
Sure.
Joe. I guess we should probably just do that before we wrap up here.
Yeah, I mean, I've already pre-ordered the deluxe version. Call it 10.
There we go. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty much right there too. I'm stoked for it. And playing against Bon Barrow today, I was like, this is sweet. This game is so cool.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, it's like I've been rejuvenated into the base game, and I've got like almost 280, almost 300 hours into that,
you're welcome.
and I'm right back in it again, and it's been out for almost 2 years.
Yeah, it's coming up on that. It was 2000, the beginning of 2018. It's like a year and a half, a
Okay,
little over.
yeah,
Yeah, which is crazy
yeah,
for us for any game. It's
yeah, I'm right
beautiful.
back there.
Uh,
So,
well, Joe, let's just wrap it up quick. Let's just do a little bit of that segment that I like to call, that you like to call.
time killers.
Whoa, that was weird. That's right. It's time for time killers. Games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, TV shows we've been viewing. Besides these games we've been talking about here today, what have you been killing time with? Anything new?
For me, I have been killing time with. I know you and I share something that we both watched together recently. We can talk about that at the end.
Sure, we're talking about it now. I
Um,
don't care.
trying to think of what else I've checked out lately.
Nothing
Yeah,
new.
I call it there. I don't really have anything to be honest.
Secret obsession. Tell me about it.
Secret obsession. So
Not
what
so much a
Brenda
secret.
saw? Yeah, not such a secret, but Netflix original movie. Brenda Song headlines it, stars in it. The guy, the Allstate guy, also stars as the detective. I forget his name, and I apologize. Um,
I'll look it up.
maybe look it up. But anywho, all you can think of the whole time are insurance jokes like, you should have called me for that life insurance policy, or your auto payment is overdue, or
Dennis Haspert. Haspert.
okay. I started out with Jimmy like, I mean, if anybody's gonna save this girl, it's Denzel. And he just busts out laughing.
I was like, oh god.
It actually is. I don't want to call it an excellent movie because a movie of this style, it's somewhat, I don't even want to call it formulaic, but predictable. You kind of understand the moves they have to make to get the story to have any longevity or runtime length. But to get there, they do a good job. It is fairly gripping. You are on the edge of your seat the whole time, which is ultimately their major goal. The characters are all well cast. I like it, or I like them. Um, I like how things are revealed to you over time. It's kind of interesting when you learn who's who and why this, why that a little bit. Um, Brenda Song does an excellent job, um, just in her role in general, acting as if she's injured, that sort of thing. All pretty much spot on. There are some cliche moments, like the whole like she knows what's going on here, and you like chained her up and acted horrible. She realizes that you've done bad things or even killed people, and then all next thing you know, she's like trying to side with you and say, "No, no, I mean I'll go along with it," and like act all calm and cool. And it's like who, how dumb or insane would you have to be, right? So there are a couple of those moments, but overall, I mean, I give it a fairly heavy or fairly decent score. It's a good movie. I think it's worth a little watch. You got a evening where you got a little time to kill your board. You and whoever, the missus or a couple friends want to watch it. It's worth your time. I give it like a 7. I give it like a 7. It's a solid film. There's really nothing wrong with it. It kind of has your somewhat standard horror movie tropes a little bit, even though it's not technically horror. Um, but yeah, it's solid. And let's say a 7 in the Netflix realm. We're not talking like big screen blockbuster, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah. Just
take
for
it for what you want.
Yeah, just for context here, because you might be slightly confused. So Brenda Song's character is like chased in the beginning of this like movie, gets hurt, wakes up in the hospital. Her husband apparently is there to help her get through rehab and stuff, and you find out that maybe the husband isn't all he seems, because when you were saying like she's chained up to the bed, we didn't really talk about like what the premise of this movie was, but you kind of know. And also the name of the movie and the trailer kind of give it away that he's not her husband. It's TV-14, so it's not like super graphic or anything, but yeah, I don't know. Joe did a good job of explaining it. I think it's rather predictable. Like there are moments where like, oh no, it's that kind of classic like the bad guy and like the good person, the hero's trying to get away and they're hurt or whatever, and you're like, oh no, they're just about to get away, but they might not. And I would say the main character is, I think his name is Mike Vogel, the bad guy, whoever the wannabe husband is, who's actually just a former coworker of Brenda Song's, who has just pined after her for years and was angry that she got married to somebody else. Even though there are probably a few plot holes here as far as like, okay, how did he get into the hospital and say like he was her husband? And everyone's like, yeah, we just buy it. But yeah, I think he did a good job of being like this, like you could tell right away that he's a bad guy. Like you just look at him and you're like, yeah, he's the bad guy. But
I felt like he did a really good job for the first like 2/3 of the movie.
He does.
When things started to fall apart on him, I think I was a little less impressed with him because they took his character. Crazy. Yeah, they like, made him seem kind of like suave and clever in the beginning, and next thing you know, he's just like falling apart and acting like he literally is kind of.
Well, he is. And he's just kind of dumb, where it's just like he's playing this kind of long game, and then there's like a few things that are setbacks, and then he just starts to lose it, and it's just like, shh, just calm yourself down, man. If you're playing this, but yeah, like Joe said, if you had a night, it's just like an hour and a half. It's not that long. I love Brenda Song. It was good to see her. I don't think like they kind of make her in the trailer to be like the main character, but weirdly she's not. It's this guy. He's like the main guy. But yeah, decent performances all around. You could tell it's like a lower budget. Like they just have a really nice lodge or like really nice mansion kind of to shoot at, which was very pretty. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like it's up in Oregon or kind of Northern California. I was like, this is very pretty. So I'd say check it out if you're into the thriller sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They achieved that pretty well, I think.
Yeah. But besides that, for me, I'm kind of in the same boat. Nothing really new besides that old Bachelor in Paradise. Man, that Blake is still around. Just
yeah, I've been watching that, I guess.
Yeah, we gotta that show. It's almost done for this season, which, yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. They all think it's gonna be fun in games until it's not. Believe it or not, Joe, that is the show. That's the show for this week. I know we talked about Cyberpunk way longer than I thought we would, but that's a good thing. That's a mark of a good game.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Tonight, or I was gonna say, you know, we have people tweet us a hashtag usually if they've watched the show, especially Ryan, who does it all the time. But if you want to beat Ryan to it on Twitter, what should our hashtag be this week, Joe? What do you think?
Ooh, CR Punk.
Hashtag CR Punk. There we go. Or Kerpunk, as it were. Just
Kerpunk.
Yeah, CR Punk.
Not Kerplunk.
Not Kerplunk. Not Kerplunk.
Somebody just jumped in the water.
Yeah, no. So tweet us hashtag CR Punk all together, and you can tweet us over on Twitter, or you can just tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast if you ever have a question or topic for the show. And you can tweet at our personal accounts. I'm at JimmyGood013, or you can tweet at Joe's, which is
Lever_. Oh God, Lever_627.
There you go.
Beaver, just like Beaver, only with an L. And if you want to reach Levi, where can they get you, Levi? Maybe at Levi Fletcher.
He would
Levi,
say no.
Like the jeans, FLETCHER.
Thanks,
Levi. Back to you, Jimmy.
I really want someone to tweet us this week and give us like a crazy topic idea for next week's. And honestly, whatever it is, shoot us a topic. We'll talk about it. I mean, To some degree, like I feel like we can't do like an hour show on something that's just like it's like.
Dude,
all
I
right,
don't know. You could come up with something pretty golden. We could go for more than an hour.
I think so too. I'm just interested to hear, like, I want to know what the people who watch this show, like, what do they want to hear about? Obviously, like, talking about kind of the more up-to-date stuff, but I always love to do, like, an evergreen topic where it's like, you could come back to this in 2 years and be like, that was still a really funny podcast. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to entertain you, baby.
First of all, I think we need to have a game for the next podcast. We need to start her out with a funny, friendly, family-friendly game.
You make a game, Joe, and I'm ready to play, baby. I'm
You know, I love the little guessing games. I love the animal encyclopedia one. I think that's fun.
Irrawaddy dolphin. Irrawaddy dolphin.
That's so hyper specific. It was impossible.
Okay, that's because we kept doing this, and it was either like I would give you something like panda, and you get it in like 3 guesses, but then I was like, all right, I have to make it harder because it's just like it was too easy. Then I made it too hard. But I heard
Irrawaddy dolphin.
Irrawaddy dolphin. I heard that pop up on TV recently. Something I don't know, but all I know is I was so proud of that, and I think that's my trigger word. If I was a sleeper agent, they'd be like Irrawaddy dolphin. I'd be like, oh my god, how long was I out? They'd be like for 10 years, and I'd be like, yeah, those were fun. But if you guys have a game suggestion, unless Joe, you want to make a game suggestion,
we'll come up with something. But you know, it's not like we're not grasping at straws for material. It's more so like getting in tune with the community. What do you guys want to hear about? Not just the community feedback and questions. We're talking even more involved.
Yeah, I know one of my favorite podcasts I listen to every week, The Weekly Planet, which everybody should go listen to. They're really, really good. But what they do is, like, this week they just did the Matrix trilogy. Like, they were just like, hey, we haven't talked about this. They're making a new Matrix coming up here, and we'll just go back and talk about that. And some of my favorite shows, I think, that I've heard from them and some of the shows that we've done that have been so much fun have been like, all right, Jimmy, go talk about, and crew, talk about these 2 movies, or something like that. That might have been from a while ago. Like, just to, if you give us an idea of what that you guys want that to be, then we can, like, focus in on that and just be like, all right, we researched it, we rewatched them. We're fresh, we're ready to go. Because some of those things that's fun. I think that's fun anyway. But yeah, besides that, thank you everybody who's supporting us via Patreon, or if you've bought anything from our merch store over on Spreadshirt, we appreciate that. I'm going to retool Patreon here soon, so thank you for everybody who's been sticking around with us. I know I haven't been as active on doing and uploading videos as much. Life has just been very busy, so I might have to kind of retool what Critical Reviews is going to be. But don't worry, everything will always be, as far as the videos will be free, and we'll always put the podcast up for everybody and all that jazz, and the videos that we do, because we got videos coming up, baby. But yes, thank you, everybody. And Joe, thank you for being here. It's always lovely chatting with you, man.
Always a joy, an absolute joy, Jimmy. I look forward to it each week.
Thank you. Me too. It's the best. All right, anyway, thank you.
Say we gave her the old the KO, huh?
Dang, look at that. You just bookended this podcast with punches. He's definitely gonna be punching people in Cyberpunk. He's gonna buy it and just be punching everybody.
I don't know. You got me on the whole train of the whole punching and wrecking ball.
Thank you. I've done it. Well, until next week, my dear Legionnaires, just remember to adapt and overcome.